Hey, what is up, guys? Bluntcuts here. This is a Watcher of Realms video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. I want to talk about Lynx here. She is going to be on a banner this weekend. She is a Northerner marksman, single target marksman with some AoE capabilities, certainly an AoE ultimate, who, in my mind, is very similar skill set wise to Maul. The question is she as good as Maul, who is one of the best epics in the game right now, especially as far as control is concerned. Now, there's some other videos out there right now that have tested her damage. I'm not going to be touching on that here. I want to hone in on how her crowd control skills do compare to some of the best CCers in the game. I'm talking about Mari, I'm talking about Greed, Theowen, talking about, of course, Maul, like I did mention. And the big thing about Lynx is how she's able to leverage in this skill right here, Winter's Bite. This is a skill that is not on a lot of heroes, but it is extraordinarily powerful. It reads, reduces movement speed by 25%, stacking up to 3 times. When reaching 3 stacks, inflicts freeze on the target for 2 seconds. Does not apply to targets already inflicted with freeze. So it's both a slow as well as a potential hard CC as in a freeze when it does stack up to 3 times. The issue is that many of the heroes that do have this, they're not able to apply it consistently enough to get those freezes out before it does expire. It's only got a 3-second duration. Now, what you really want to do is bring multiple units together that can cast this. That way you get more chances at application. Just on the basic attack, Lynx has a 30% chance to inflict Winter's Bite. There are other aspects of her kit where she can inflict Winter's Bite as well. The other 2 heroes that do inflict Winter's Bite are extraordinarily powerful, especially in GVG. I'm talking about Anora, I'm talking about Ymir. Both of these heroes kind of suffer from the same problem in that they can get out a stack or 2 of Winter's Bite, but getting enough of them out in order to really slow down the opposition, especially a large pack of enemies, is difficult. I want to do some testing here today. We're going to see how, again, Lynx compares to some of those CC heroes I did mention, but then I also want to compare the grouping of Lynx, Anora, and Ymir, see how they compare. Let's go take a look. All right, so I did my testing in AMR 20. Reason being, AMR 20, let's pull up the map here, I can just show you. So AMR 20 has this long lane. There's a big pack of enemies coming in. It was relatively easy to isolate a lane for Lynx to attack, Lynx and the other CC heroes. Now, what I did was I basically used the topmost lane, meaning the lane that is directly in front and to the right of where the soul crystal is. That is what I used for the testing. I also dropped in Silas and a tank on the bottom lane to keep that under control. And then really I was just focusing on the top lane. What I did, I dropped in the CC unit, I put in Elowen, I dropped in my other units as I talked about, and then I just measured the amount of time that it took for 3 units to make it into the soul crystal from the CC lane. I did it for all of the heroes that are in this list right here, plus Greed, who's not pictured at the moment. I didn't have room for everybody in all at the same time, but Greed was tested as well. I'm going to show you an example of what I did so you can get your eyes on it, and then we're going to go to the spreadsheet. We're going to talk about the results. All right, guys, here is my sheet. This is all the data that I did gather. Relatively simple test. I do like that. I do like that this is not a lot of data to really analyze here. We're just comparing the amount of time that it took for units to get from this one point into the soul crystal. And not surprising, at least not to me anyway, is that Mari did come out on top here. It took 85 seconds for the units to get from their spawn points all the way into the Soul Crystal, and that is just kind of crazy. She beat everybody by a pretty significant margin. In fact, the next closest to do it was Theowen, and Theowen was only able to hold up the units for about 75% of the time that Mari did, so a big difference there. Mari is the unequivocal CC queen as far as this is concerned, but just going through this list here, we'll kind of talk through them real quick. Mari, like I said, 85 seconds. Greed, I was a little surprised, 56 seconds on Greed. Respectable, but not the best. Theowen, like I said, was the second best at 64 seconds, 75% of Mari's time, and then Maul, surprisingly, 60 seconds, 70%, over 70% of Mari's time. So really impressive there. Lynx, unfortunately, at A0 did come in dead last by a very significant margin, only 34 seconds. And really, it comes down to what I was talking about initially in the intro. Winter's Bite is just, it's not as good as the slows that all of these other heroes have. They are pure CC heroes. Lynx tries to be a little bit of damage, a little bit, I don't know where that came from, a little bit of CC as well, and it's just not enough to do either very well based on what I have seen. So unfortunately, I don't really love the hero based on the numbers that I'm seeing here anyway. And when I saw that the damage was not all that great when I saw some of the other videos, I figured that, you know, the CC must be really what her purpose is, and her skill set being so similar to Maul's, I thought was going to really be something that she might be able to hang her hat on, but that does not seem to be the case, really, unfortunately. Now, I do have some good news. When you do combine her with Nora and Ymir, the numbers do get quite a bit better, and she is much more comparable to Greed, Theowen, and Maul. You can see these numbers on the table that is directly to the left of me on the screen right now. Here's the bad news, or potentially good news for our summons. There's not a huge difference based on my admittedly limited testing. And, you know, I'm going to say this because I'm sure there's people who are going to say stuff in the comments. None of this is perfect, all right? This is all very situational. But based on what I saw in this specific test anyway, there was not a huge difference in between the A0 and the A5 as far as CC is concerned. Now, each of the different awakenings, the big ones anyway, A1, A3, and A5, they all have some component that should enhance her CC, or at least give her more options to put Winter's Bite onto a unit. But the problem is that it's all proc-based, and because she doesn't really do true AoE damage outside of her ultimate, she doesn't have consistent application of the buffs across the entire pack, and that is a big problem. Now, I think that she might perform much better in a test that was looking at like 1, 2, maybe even 3 units that were coming at her, but that's not what we were doing here. That's not really what we need to worry all that much about. Now, I think in GVG, if you're looking to like slow down a couple of axe slaughterers or, you know, a small group or something like that, she might be fine. And certainly she can do work in a big group with a Nora and Ymir combo, but she is dependent on these other heroes to really perform when she's tackling an AoE pack coming at her. Just for perspective, the gear that I did have on all of these units, I did move the same gear around, just to be clear, if anybody was concerned about how I was kind of keeping things consistent here. The gear that I did have on these units did have plus 584 speed. It also had plus 86% rage regen, and this was using a maxed out Pantheon. So yeah, guys, I hate to say it, but I am just not all that high on this hero. I think at the end of the day, Winter's Bite, as cool as it is, you really need to bring a solid skill set in order to make it worthwhile, because it is not as reliable as normal slows like what you see with Greed, Mari, Theowen, all of those heroes. Hell, even Maul for that matter. Maul did show to be quite a bit better than Lynx in the CC category as well. So you've got to bring more than just the CC, and she just doesn't do that. Her damage is kind of subpar. Ultimate damage, pretty decent from what I've seen, but it's just not much to write home about. I think what they're going for here is like a combo of CC and damage, and I think she kind of falls short on both fronts. Now, the one case where I will say that she is kind of decent is when you can combine her with Nora and Ymir. The CC from that is pretty impressive. It's not quite Mari level. Cumulatively, it does put the three of them on par with like a Greed or a Theowen or a Maul. Very similar to the output that you get from any one of those heroes, but you're also bringing obviously damage and all that kind of stuff as well. And so you know, if you could, hell, I don't know, you know, as I'm talking about this, I'm kind of talking myself out of it as well, because while I do think that what I said is correct, that she can be you know, additive as far as the Anora Ymira combo is concerned. I'm just not so sure that you're getting enough additional CC by adding Lynx to the mix versus, say, the benefit that you would get from adding a strong damage dealer or something like that. Now, you know, this is all very situational. It's going to depend on people's accounts. I think it needs to be said that a lot of people have Anora. Not a lot of people have Ymira, right? So this is going to be account specific, her value. But I think if you don't have Ymira, probably not going to be wanting Lynx all that much. So yeah, just my 2 cents. In any case, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Please do like and subscribe if you did enjoy my stuff. I really appreciate it when people do that. It does make a gigantic difference for me. It does motivate me to continue making content, and I do think that I'm going to have the opportunity to make a little bit more content than I have been recently in the near future. So I'm looking forward to that. I will catch you all next time.